my personal journey began in 2013. I've always been a gym rat. I ran marathons. I was a go-getter. I'm an Army vet. I was a police officer, stressful jobs. And then I got into litigation and, again, stressful jobs. And I ate pretty healthy, but that all came to a screeching halt in December of 2013, where I had a lump on one side of my throat. Ultimately, it got needle biopsied, and then surgically it was biopsied, and they told me I had stage 4 squamous cell head and neck cancer, which had metastasized. Actually, the primary was in the middle of my neck. The lump over here was part of the metastasis. And I had it on my left side as well.
7 days prior to Tom's diagnosis of stage 4 squamous cell cancer, I was given a diagnosis of stage 1 non-metastatic breast cancer. So December 10th, 2013 was the day it all really hit home because, as Tom said, his foster mom died of multiple myeloma, his birth mother died of pancreatic cancer, his dad of lung cancer, uncles, grandparents, and so forth. And my mother had 4 primaries. But there's no comparison between taking care of people you love with cancer and having a doctor point the finger at you and saying you have cancer. To say it felt like the world stopped and there was no sound in the world would be kind of the understatement of the century when the phone call came in and that ENT told me that he had stage 4 cancer. I couldn't believe that it could even be possible. This was a steel Adonis. I'm 6'3", 225 pounds, marathoner, gym rat. I mean, you should have seen the shoulders and the neck on him. We thought we were eating well. We were thinking we were doing right by ourselves. We were never overweight. Whatever maladies we had, we didn't think were serious. I had asthma and allergies. No big deal. That's not going to kill you, right? One time he picked up a boat and popped the vertebra in his back, and I couldn't get him to take an aspirin. You know, that's what a tough guy we're dealing with here. I thought I had seen the worst I could see with my mother, with what she went through. The last of hers was also squamous cell cancer, also in her tongue, also HPV positive, so not from smoking and drinking, not from living a bad life, neither one of them. The one before that was, she had breast cancer. The one before that was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and the one before that was melanoma. I thought I had seen it all. I had slept on hospital floors. I had been through so much with her, but there was just no comparison to what it was like with him. We decided against full protocol because it would have involved him taking cisplatin, which would have left him profoundly deaf, which would have meant that his work as a litigation manager would have been over. The alternative drug that we selected was a biologic class drug called Erbitux. I read the drug monograph because for 12 years, my primary clients were the drug companies. That's the kind of marketing research I did. I worked on vaccines, and I worked on every class of drugs except for oncology. I did only one study in 12 years on oncology, but I interviewed literally thousands of doctors and patients, nurses, hospital administrators, insurance company executives, anybody who could have anything to do with marketing a drug, I interviewed them. And I really thought I had seen it all. And I read the drug monograph on the Erbitux, and it said that it would cause a skin reaction that would look like acne, right?
Pretty much what it says, yeah.
And the oncologist, the medical oncologist, who was formerly a researcher at Mayo Clinic and at Scripps, said, yeah, you'll be teasing him about looking like a teenager. Well, it started out that way. And inside of 2 weeks, it had burned every bit of skin off of him from here, up over the top of his head, all of his hair, down on the inside of his elbows and the back of his knees. He looked like he'd been dipped in sulfuric acid. And I had to bring him to the emergency room because the drug has a black box warning for anaphylactic shock, and he wasn't breathing. And he was so swollen, you couldn't see his nose from here to here or his chin from here to here. That's how swollen he was. Took him to the emergency room in Virginia Beach. ER doctor was pushing 50 years old, looked at him and said, oh my God, what is this? I've never seen anything like this in my life. And he wanted me to tell him what had happened. He had never heard of the drug. We made the phone call to the medical oncologist who didn't answer. And the best they could do was shoot him full of Benadryl and put the paddles on him. So the radiation went on for almost 7 weeks. He missed just the one day because of the anaphylactic shock. We stopped the drug because I felt like he couldn't survive another dose.
I was supposed to have an infusion a week.
6 weeks.
Concurrent with the radiation 5 days a week. And after the second one, which she just described, the oncologist, I remember hearing him on the phone, because at that time I had lost my voice. I couldn't talk anymore because of the radiation. But I remember hearing him saying, okay, we've gotten through the worst of it. It's only going to get better now, so we need you to come in and finish your treatment. So they wanted me to come in and finish the other 5 infusions, and I refused to do that. But I did continue on with the radiation, and ultimately what did happen is I couldn't eat anymore because I couldn't swallow. I couldn't eat food anymore. I couldn't swallow. And of course, I had radiation burns in various places on my neck. And
Lost 42 pounds?
yeah, about that, almost 50 pounds. We did a little prophylactic treatment before, and that was through Brzezinski's.
Anti-neoplastics.
Yeah. And we ate raw diets and that kind of thing. That was before I started the treatment, so we didn't go right into treatment, although they wanted me to go right into treatment the very next day. My treating doctor left a message on my phone that we got when I got home from my last appointment saying, okay, we got you in, you start your radiation tomorrow. And your oncology appointment is the next day, or your infusion will be the next day. That was before I even got home. So we didn't do I didn't finish all the treatment, but I did almost all the radiation. And after that, I guess by then my wife and I had done, well, mostly my wife, had done a lot of research, what we thought was a lot of research till we came to this thing. She had done a lot of research about aftercare and lack thereof, because probably what bothered me the most is I figured I would heal. My scars would, my face would grow back. This is what I figured, and I hoped, I guess, my hair would grow back to some degree, and so on. What disturbed me the most is after I refused the last radiation treatment and didn't go back for the infusion, was they basically washed their hand, Western medicine washed their hands of us and said, well, if you're not going to follow the protocol, then we're done with you. Even though we interviewed a few other doctors about alternatives or supplements or eating regimens, nutrition, to get me back after the treatment. And I guess what really concerned me the most after they were done with me, after they proclaimed they were done with me, is there's no aftercare other than maybe recommend a nutritionist, which we did go to, but both the nutritionists that they recommended foods that we never would have eaten in the first place, even before the cancer. Most of it was sugar-laced, fat-laced. Carbs, I mean, all the things.
Basically, they said anything he could swallow. Anything he could swallow.
So that,
with no regard to feeding the cancer.
Yeah, and that's when
we learned about from the truth about cancer, because when we first diagnosed, friends who were into holistic living said, you need to get on a raw vegan diet, non-GMO immediately, which we did for as long as he could do. But once the radiation began, he wasn't able to chew because so much tissue was destroyed. So I was blending everything and throwing it in the blender, and we got hooked up with the Life Extension Foundation, and we did their pre-cancer protocol of vitamins and minerals and supplements. We, at some point in time, and I wish to God I could remember how, I think God just tapped me on the shoulder and said, here, this is the truth about cancer. Get on this website. And started looking at what was on the website, and so that's pushing 4 years ago now.
After it was sort of evident to us that the normal medical address killing the tumor, killing the tumor. If the patient dies, well, that's collateral. But after they kill the tumor, it's like they really have no plan of action. I mean, they had a plan of action with the radiation, with the infusion, and even the surgery. But after that,
and this was at a major medical school.
Pretty much you were done.
Virginia.
And I think that's when we really got into the truth about cancer, the lectures that we could find, connecting the dots to other people that were in the field with nutrition, with naturopaths, even with Chinese medicine, which we're now big fans of. And I can tell you that I didn't believe a whole lot in people sticking needles in me and doing these cup things on me and drinking these awful herbal teas. But now I'm a great believer in it. But a lot of what we've learned is sort of tentacled out from originally my wife. I give all the credit to her.
Credit to God.
Finding out about the truth about cancer, and then just tentacled out into all these other avenues, all these other people, and these books and videos. And
Resources.
So on. Resources, right. Because without that, they had prescribed me, because I was complaining about neuropathy. I can't say, I was showing you my neuropathy, you can see it. I still have it, but they wanted to give me, one drug that they wanted to give me is Humira, which is a cancer-causing drug.
And it's a biologic class, the same thing that almost killed him.
But I had 12 drugs they actually wrote prescriptions for with the various complaints because I did go back to doctor saying, I have a headache, I can't think, I have a stomach ache, I can't keep food down, my hands hurt. These are all things that I never had before. I said, I can't walk, I have no balance, and so on and so on. They just wrote 12 prescriptions for me. And they were going to be maintenance drugs. These were going to be, from what I remember anyway, most of them were going to be for the rest of my life.
He was told he would never make thyroid hormones again. And the Chinese medicine doctor, who is American but Chinese trained, has actually got him to the point now where he's making thyroid hormones. We were told that was burnt up, it was gone. There would never be any thyroid hormones again, but they would give him a drug for it. He was diagnosed with scleroderma and a whole slew of other things, and told that, his memory function would be impaired forever. And, he should go out on a disability and never work again. And we just found alternatives, and a lot of it was through resources that we learned about, that I picked up on, and as a marketing researcher myself, I knew how to follow the thread, and I was able to take it from there.
And the alternative, whatever it is, anything other than the normal protocols, using those, within 3 months, I had started to put on weight. I felt better, I felt stronger. I still had some side effects, headaches and so on, but within 3 months I ran my first race again and finished it. And I ran 3 or 4 races that year. I went back to work, although again, still like this tail following you. It was, there was still side effects following me, but I could tell I was getting stronger and stronger, clearer. I had to relearn how to talk again because my voice was gone. I had no voice at all. I had to learn how to talk, so I had to go to a speech therapist, and even that didn't take as long because we refused to do what they wanted me to do, which is put a feeding tube in. But that's the only protocol we really followed. After that...
That and a lot of prayer. Yeah. We had people praying for Tom all over the world. We had my missionary cousins in Yemen and Germany. We had my family in Canada. We had friends all around the world putting him on prayer chains, and we just believe. We believe, and what we want to do now is we want to be a beacon to other people, and we want to show other people by what we've been able to do. Literally, anybody who knows anything about squamous cell cancer in head and neck will tell you that it's about as bad as pancreatic or glioblastoma. Everybody knows that you don't come out of it like this if you go their way.
More than one doctor said I'd be dead in 18 months. Well, now my mantra is informed consent. So if you have informed consent, you can at least make an informed decision. If you don't know, like a lot of things, I knew things and still opted for, I saw all those people die that I mentioned earlier, and I don't believe the cancer killed them. I never will believe it. I believe the treatment killed them because I saw them go downhill so fast. I knew that, but still I'd been so indoctrinated from probably birth, when my mother gave me my first aspirin and cough medicine and amoxicillin when we had infections when we were kids, right up to whatever my mother said or the doctor said. I just did it. And I knew all these other things that happened in my life with relatives, or relative to cancer anyway, and watched them just dissipate into death. And I still went the conventional, because I didn't trust the alternatives. You know, I used to say, well, you know, someone's going to tell me to eat weeds or grass or something. That's not the same as
That was me.
as a doctor saying, you know, we're going to get you through this. It's going to be bad, but we're going to get you through this. I still did not ask enough questions. We asked a lot of questions. We got blackballed by various practices. Even during the time we were going through it, you know, I was still doing it, but we were asking way more questions and presenting studies and research, and she was doing the, you know, the drug monikers and what's the mechanism. Ask a doctor, what's the mechanism of action of this particular drug? And they look at you like, well, I gotta go. They don't know they either don't know the answer or don't want to get into that, right? So we were really, as a team. Again, I believe that's what saved my life more than the doctors did. As a team, you know, she would have this research there and say, well, I worked on this vaccine and I know what it says here. Did you know that? And then when you get thrown to the curb, which is after they so-called kill the tumor, and you go back and you're looking now, you're nothing like you were before. You know, I've gone from 220 pounds or whatever down to about whatever I was. I'm a bone. I mean, I'm better now, but I mean, I'm a bone basically. I can't get out of my own way. I'm totally, you know, skin-wise, I'm totally skinned. I got no hair. I got no facial hair. I've got no arm hair. I've got, you know, I can't talk. And now I'm finished because I'm not going to do anymore. But I've basically done the radiation. And now you're looking to them to say, okay, here's how we're going to get you back to the way you were before, because that's what you expect. At least that's what I expected. And they basically do this. Well, I'm the oncologist, or I'm the radiological oncologist. You're going to have to go to your PCP for that. And you go to your PCP, and that's when, as my wife was saying, that's when you go to this specialist and that specialist, because they'll say, well, what's wrong? Oh, okay, well, I don't do that. You got to go see the rheumatologist, or you got to go see the psychiatrist, or you got to go see whatever the specialty is, a neurologist, because you can't feel your hands anymore. You know? Whereas 5 months before, I could feel my hands. I had no skin problems. I had a full beard. I weighed 40 or so, 50 pounds more. You know,
No holes in your head either.
No ischemic strokes, and so on and so on and so on. So,
And could taste food.
And could taste. That's another thing. I couldn't taste food either. You expect them to say, "Here's what we're going to do to build you back up," and you get no help at all.
What we're trying to do now is, we see this as this weird thing where God kept going like this to us over the years. We weren't paying attention. Finally, God went, we got the message. And now we're trying to pass it on to other people, and we tell them, you know, cancer is absolutely a medical crisis, no doubt, but it's not a medical emergency. You aren't going to the emergency room today, tomorrow, or the next day, until they start the radiation and the poison drugs. And you'll find yourself in the emergency room, but it's our way of saying, don't be bums rushed, slow down.
And get that informed consent.
And the very first place we send them is Truth About Cancer.
Oh, yeah.
The very first place, always. Get the information and ask all the questions you can possibly ask and utilize what Truth About Cancer has to offer before you let yourself be cut up, burnt up, and poisoned, because that'll last a whole lot longer. My thought would be twofold. One is, don't lose your logic when you're talking to these people, because a lot of what they say, the light bulb will go over your head and say, that doesn't make any logical sense. One example would be when they tell you to stop doing what you're doing if you're already in alternative medicine. If you're already taking supplements and they say, oh, well, that's going to accent or enhance the cancer cells, you got to shoot right back at them and say, well, isn't your radiation in oncology? Are they going to kill sporadic? You know, isn't it going to be a shotgun approach? The second is informed consent. Before you agree to do anything, do not let them make the decision. You make the decision. So you need to know whatever you can do as far as research goes. You need to know, ask questions. Don't give up your ability to make a decision. Do not give that up, and don't give up your logic. I mean, if it doesn't make any sense, it's probably because it doesn't make any sense.